We're going to start our 9 a.m. meeting for the reinvestment zone number 2. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Secretary Huerta, would you please call roll?
Chairman Dan Seckley.
Here.
Board members Libby Ayert is absent. Roland Barrera. Absent. Sylvia Campos. Absent. Brent Chesney. Mr. Chesney's absent. Joe Gonzalez. Absent. Paulette Guajardo.
She's present.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Jim Klein is absent. John Mattis. Here. Okay. Mike Pesley.
Here.
Everett Roy.
Here.
Connie Scott. Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. Is there anyone here that would like to make public comment? Ms. Huerta, did we receive any written public comments?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the agenda items. Number 1, motion authorizing city staff to negotiate an amendment with Ashlar Interests, LLC for the Whitecap development in an additional amount not to exceed $14 million for additional public improvements projects related to the large-scale development in the zone, which may be subject to a future amendment to the TIRZ 2 project and financing plan. Ms. Hurlbert.
Good morning, Heather Hurlbert, Assistant City Manager. So, wanted to go ahead and review through. So, this is some additional projects that Ashlar Development, who is developing the Whitecap development on North Padre Island, has come forward with. So, just to recap, earlier this year, the board had approved several projects totaling $11.5 million, and so that does include 2 public mobility bridges, Commodore's Drive Mobility Bridge, the Preserve Walking Trails, the Aquarius Street Box Culvert Exchange, and the Encantada Avenue Mobility Bridge. And so these projects totaled $11.5 million, and this funding is coming through the TIRZ number 2. And so as they've moved through the process, as we have heard through many of our projects, there has been an increase in cost for several different reasons since the additional estimate was provided to the city staff and to the board. And so I do have Jeff Coyne with LJA to walk through the challenges that they've seen on this Commodore Bridge project and a reasoning for the justification for the additional money needed for the project.
Morning, Chairman, TIRZ 2 board members, and city staff. Jeff Coyne with LJA Engineering. As Heather mentioned, the Commodore's Bridge project that we recently bid out came in over budget. Just a quick recap on that project. As you recall, the Commodore's Bridge is meant to create mobility and water circulation from the south side of the island to the north side of the island, and create that much-needed water quality improvement and public boat mobility throughout. So there's also a developer agreement in place between the city and Ashlar Development, the Whitecap developer, to design and construct the bridge on the private sector using private funds and then get reimbursed through the TIRZ 2 dollars. And where we're at in that process is my firm's completed the design plans. They've been approved by the city, and we solicited bidders to receive bids and begin construction, and that's when we came in with these higher bid amounts. And the justifications that we have listed here, I wanted to walk through because it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison. When we originally did the OPC for the $3.2 million, it was back in April of 2022. So it was over a year ago. And those estimates were done off of schematics, not full design plans. And so over the course of a year, the design modifications made to that schematic, resulting in the final construction documents, was where we saw that price increase. And it was due to quantity increases as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that shortly. This is sort of a breakdown of how we got to this number. The 3.2 was the original budgeted amount off of schematics. The material cost increase that Heather mentioned, around 50%, resulted in almost a $2 million increase. And while we'd like to think that inflation is somewhat topping off. We're not seeing that in the construction industry, that's for sure. So over the course of, more than a year, we've had a 50% in material-only increase. The second item was the existing bridge structure. From the schematic to the final design, the structure actually widened. And the reason for that was an additional turn lane that was required and backed up onto the bridge in order to facilitate left turn stacking into the hotel site of the future Whitecap development. And that was unknown at the schematic stage because the traffic study was not yet completed. So over the course of the last year, we completed that study, and that's the reason for these design modifications being necessary. The same is true of the additional canal and bulkhead construction. There's a detour route that's proposed to take traffic onto private property, and thus giving the contractor the full work zone to construct this bridge monolithically in one swoop instead of half and half, like you see being done on the Park Road 22 bridge. So that expedites the speed of construction. And the last item that's there is just under $1 million in increase, and what we've heard from multiple bidders was that there is a premium, in fact, that they put on island construction. And it's due to the traffic issues that are sometimes related to getting on the island, getting equipment out there. For this type of bridge construction, you're talking major cranes, excavators, things like that, along with materials, and the delays that they might anticipate with getting those out there is the reason that they factor a premium into a project like this on the island. So that resulted the total amount in the new budget that we're requesting be increased to $9.2 million. This kind of tells the tale of what I was just saying. The original bridge deck was 70 feet wide. With that additional stacking lane, it increased it to 85 feet. So that's where the additional quantities came from the original budget to where we are now. Along with, you'll see on the bottom there, the increase of 210 feet to a total of 260 for canal and bulkheading in there, and that's the general location of where the detour route will be going. So we can't construct that right now with the current contractors digging and bulkheading the community right now until that detour road is gone. I'll entertain any questions before we move to the next topic.
Any questions? No? All right, thanks, Jeff.
Morning, Peter.
Are we ready to take action on this, or?
We could either give direction now, or we could have discussion at the very end of the presentation to consider not only the bridge, but also the additional projects, whatever the board decides would prefer.
Chairman, let's clarify. So we're going into, we just had a discussion about a $6 million overage, and now we're going into additional projects.
Exactly.
So are we doing, is there action on both?
No, just one action item.
Okay, so I do have a question regarding let's see. Can we go back? One more, right here. So, extra bridge structure with cost. So that is due to, he mentioned the traffic study. And that was the traffic study that was required, correct? I recall.
Yes.
And because of that, and that, would that be in time? Because if I recall, the traffic study was going to call for, additional measures as the development progressed, is that right? Is this one of them that must be placed now,
Yes,
that was not anticipated clearly?
that's correct. What the traffic study told us was that the left turn movement into the future hotel site was going to require more stacking, traffic stacking in there. So that extended that left turn lane back into the bridge structure. And that was unknown at the time that we did the schematic.
Because it was based on traffic study,
Right.
which I understand. Okay. And so was the cost just not estimated? I mean,
We had originally hoped and anticipated the bridge would be much like the Whitecap Bridge, which is just 4 lanes. existing on Whitecap Boulevard. But once the traffic study evolved and the design evolved on this bridge, it ended up being a much more substantial.
No, I'm sorry, I'm talking about this is really loud. I'm talking about the material cost, the 1.9,
Oh,
50% increase approximately.
right, that's over the course of a year plus. The original estimate was done in April 22. And so it's never been modified since then or a budgeted increase since then. So that's why we're seeing that inflationary number. When we put these cost estimates together, Mayor, they're based on other TxDOT projects that TxDOT does very similar type construction. And so we even inflated those numbers 20%. Even on top of that, we're seeing a 50% plus increase on these numbers.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what I was wondering, and so that's good to know. So y'all did take into consideration 20% back then? Okay, thank you.
All right, let's continue.
So in addition to, so that was a project that had already been awarded or had already been approved, and so looking at a change in it. So then Whitecap had also come back with, or Ashlar has come back with some additional requested projects. These are all eligible for TIRZ funding and are part of the public improvements going into the subdivision or the development. So just a summary, they are looking at extending the effluent line for the preserve ponds, the preserve pond interconnectivity, and we'll go into in more detail on each one of these. Another public mobility bridge, there's already been 2 that have been awarded, and so this will be the 3rd in the area. The Aquarius Street Canal Walk, kayak launches, several of them across the development, along with the Aquarius Street water quality aqueduct. And so the total of these projects right now is estimated at $8 million. So just a reminder this is the overview of the development. So the development is within Commodore Street, Aquarius Street, and it goes down to Whitecap, bordered on one side by Park Road 22. So these are the locations of the projects within the subdivision or with the development. So you see they're all color-coded, ranging from the aqueduct at the far top of the picture down through the Aquarius Street Canal Walk into the kayak launches, the pond interconnectivity, and then the affluent water line. So looking more at the affluent water line. So this water line, affluent water line, had been in place at a different location that I guess historically had fed the golf course that used to be there. So the affluent water line runs from the wastewater treatment plant, which would be to the left. It's off the picture. There is a main trunk of that affluent water line that runs down Whitecap Road, and then it used to hook into this. So the original the affluent water line was further to the right or towards Park Road 22. When the developer came in with the master development, the water line would not be able to stay where it was due to the design of the subdivision. So that piping was removed. And so this will bring that piping back up into to the development to feed those ponds with the affluent water. I've worked with the developer and CCW, Corpus Christi Water. The water that is being produced out of the wastewater treatment plant is suitable for use in these ponds. So in addition to this extension from Whitecap into the subdivision, into the development, there were 2 other projects that we are talking with CCW and the developer on. If you remember, the TIRZ board adopted a budget that included a capital project of $1.5 million to upgrade or repair the line along with the infrastructure at the wastewater treatment plant. So that would include, so currently the pumps are not there, the infrastructure is not there to move the water from the wastewater treatment plant down this line. Also, the line along Whitecap has not been utilized for many years, and so it needs to be tested to see where there may be damage to the line, and then that line repaired. So the TIRZ board did approve the $1.5 million to look at that project. In addition, there's been a lot of discussion about possibly extending the affluent water line up to feed Commodore's Park as that park is developed. And so what we are recommending is that not only would we allow the use of TIRZ funds to extend the affluent water line from Whitecap up to the ponds, but then we would also have the developer do the work on repairing the line and any upgrades that are needed along Whitecap, and then looking at an overall design to pull that affluent water line through to development up to be able to feed Commodore's Park whenever that project is ready to go. And so these would all be using TIRZ funds. We think that this is the most effective and efficient way to do this, to be able to get this done, especially before development starts in the development, before we have a lot of hardscaping in the development. That way we can get that line through and up to be able to feed Commodores.
Can somebody tell me why her microphone keeps going in and out? Does it sound like that to you as well?
It does, yeah. I can hear myself and then I can't hear myself, yeah.
Well, they're-
So,
I can only hear every other word online, that's for sure.
okay.
Yeah, we were promised that this was all gonna be set up, and especially for people like me who have hearing difficulties, and it's not working. When I have my speakers on here and I turn my mic on, it backfeeds through those speakers. It's not your fault, Heather, but
Do we want to pause and wait to see if we can get this,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let's do that, because. I wonder, Heather, if you used this microphone here, so what, yeah, let's turn it on there. That might work for now.
they're looking into it.
Yeah, but she can probably use that, and we can keep moving.
I didn't really notice it, did you?
Mic check.
Use it up there, maybe. Yes.
Okay, can you all hear me now? No. Can you hear me now? Okay. Mic check, mic check. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'll run back through this real fast since I guess I was kind of, every other word was coming through. So the Whitecap affluent water line. So the developer is requesting assistance with rebuilding the line that goes through from Whitecap to feed into the subdivision. There had been an existing affluent water line that had been to the right of where the proposed one is to be, that had fed the golf course when the golf course was in operation. That water line was not in the correct place and was not able to remain in that position. And so this is a reconstruction of the line to feed the ponds. The developer and city staff has worked with CCW and have verified that the water that will be produced through the wastewater treatment plant is eligible and is quality water that can be used within those ponds. In addition to extending the water line from Whitecap into the subdivision, into the development, sorry, I keep saying subdivision, development, there were two other projects that we are recommending that we utilize the developer to do these projects instead of putting them on the city CIP. So the first one is the $1.5 million that the board did approve within the budget for the upgrade and repair of the existing effluent water line. So this is an estimate for the repairs to get the water from the wastewater treatment plant, which would be to the left of this diagram, into this effluent water line to feed into the development. So currently, the pumps had been removed from the wastewater treatment plant, along with some of the equipment that is needed to circulate this effluent water. And so what we're proposing is that we utilize the developer to repair, to troubleshoot the issues along the White Cap water line, and repair that to get that back up so it can feed into this line. Then we will work with CCW to replace those pumps and the equipment that is needed to move the effluent water line from the wastewater treatment plant. In addition, there's been talk of trying to extend the effluent water line to feed the future Commodores Park. The Commodores Park is, and we're working through the master plan for that right now. And so utilizing the contractors that the developer is utilizing currently to go ahead and look to see the best way to pull the effluent water line through the development and up to feed Commodores whenever that development has started. And talking with CCW and talking with the developer, we feel like that this is the efficient way to do this because the developer is able to move on this project a little bit more quickly than we are to slot it into our CIP, and then be able to look at it as a comprehensive plan to pull it from the wastewater treatment plant all the way up to Commodores Park.
For those of you that are not familiar with this map, Commodore's Park is probably 300 yards or so from the north of that outfall to pond sign.
Exactly. Thank you for that clarification. So yes, it is top of that. Would be out to the top of the picture, and that was where the Commodores Park would be. And so we work with the developer to figure the best route through to feed that future Commodores Park. Okay. And do we want to ask questions at the end, or do you all want to ask questions as we go through each project?
Board Member Hernandez.
So is there a easement that goes beyond this to Commoners Park?
I mean, I think that's what we'd have to work through is seeing, I mean, I think we'd work with the developer on that and pull it up to where it would feed into Commodores.
Well, that should be an amendment to this to include that easement
Sure.
in there, so we're not having to try and figure it out later.
Exactly.
So if we need to make an amendment to whatever we do here, that should be included.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and move into the next project.
Dan, I don't know how, I
Board
pushed my
Member
mic.
Campos, did you have a question?
Okay, just for clarification, when is all this supposed to start? I mean, if we, go ahead and approve it, when does this happen? Because it seems like the longer we wait, the longer it costs, so.
That is a point of question there. So the developer could move forward with this more quickly than we could if we did it internally, just because they are already out there working. We would have to slot it into our CIP and our work plan. So the developer could start on this fairly quickly.
So we're talking about $6-8 million more? Is that how much more?
So no, it would only be $1 million right now. We've already budgeted 1.5 for the upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant, along with the rehabbing of the line from the wastewater treatment plant to feed into this line. The developer is estimating $1 million for the line from White Cap into the ponds, and then we would need to get an estimate on what the cost would be then to continue the line up through the development up to Commodores Park. Sure.
Board Member Roy.
So I want to make sure I understand this pipeline, although it looks like it's going to stop at Commodore's Park, it will be able to provide affluent water along the route to other facilities, correct? Or,
Yes, so currently the diagram here has it terminating at the southernmost pond in the development. But yes, what we're requesting is going ahead and allowing for this to be, the main trunk to be pulled all the way up, constructed all the way up to Commodores. And yes, other things could tap into the affluent water line supply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't know if that answered your question or not. Okay.
No, it did. I just was thinking, as future development, maybe there's an area there that we thought could use water in the future.
Yes. Yeah, that would get that infrastructure, because I know that's something that's been talked about a lot on the island is, creating the affluent line infrastructure that could be used for irrigation, for ponds, for things like this. And so this would rehab the main line to get it from the plant and then be able to extend the supply line up through that other people could tap into, yes.
Do we have an idea of how much more, what's the amount of water that this is going to draw from that source? I know that they use the water for other things. Actually, I think it's a great idea to be able to use the affluent water in other areas.
So currently, there is no affluent water or the infrastructure to pump the affluent water out into this line along Whitecap has been removed. And so right now, there is no affluent water going through to feed anything else along Whitecap.
Okay.
So this would reinstate that supply line.
All right. Thank you.
Or let me clarify, the $1.5 million project would reinstate the pipeline. The $1 million that is being requested by the developer is to extend the affluent line from Whitecap up into the ponds. And then we would then see what the cost would be to then extend it from the pond, from this line all the way up through Commodores. So there's kind of 3 different phases there.
Board Member Pusley.
Okay, let me try to see if this works. Okay, can you hear me out there?
I can hear you.
All right.
Can you hear me?
So Heather, I think it's important to clarify, the funds that are going to be provided for this are all going to come through the TIRZ, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a,
I'd like to make a motion to amend to include the easement to Commodore's Park to be included in this.
Okay.
I'll second that.
okay, so we have an amendment on the floor to add the easement. So we have a first from Board Member Hernandez, a second from Board Member Pusley. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the amendment passes. Back to the original motion, which we have a first and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. So then we'll move on to the next project, which is the Preserve Ponds interconnectivity. And so this will allow for water movement between the ponds. As we talked about just on the previous project, the affluent water line will feed into the southernmost pond. And there needs to be balancing between the ponds to be able to allow for the water connectivity between them. And so this would put infrastructure in between the major ponds to allow for the balancing and flow between those ponds. So any questions on that? Okay. And do we want to continue taking these individually, or do we want to look at doing it at the end altogether? Okay. 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 So then moving into the next project is the Park Road 22 Public Mobility Bridge. In the first round of projects that were approved by the board for improvements in the development were 2 pedestrian bridges, which connect over the canal into the preserve area. So this would be a 3rd mobility bridge, which would connect from the north and south sides of the canal feeding under the Water Exchange Canal under Park Road 22 Bridge. So currently the Park Road 22 Bridge does not have any type of pedestrian access on the bridge. It is only for vehicle mobility. And so this would allow mobility from the two sides of the water exchange canal. This would mirror what has already been approved on the other side of Park Road 22 in the Lake Padre development. They also are building a bridge to connect the two sides of the canal to allow for not only pedestrian, but also golf cart and bicycle and things like that. The cost on this bridge is a little bit more than what the other pedestrian bridges were because this has to span a wider spans because this canal is wider than some of the other ones. This will be, like I said, it'll complement the bridges not only on the Lake Padre side, but also the other two bridges that are already or that will be in place on the Whitecap side.
Board Member Hernandez.
Question on this is there sidewalks there? I mean, how is this gonna, I mean, if there's no sidewalks, who's gonna be walking along the highway?
So there is, so this is all part of the master plan side. This is going to be part of their entertainment district and their marina area. And so there will be sidewalks that'll hook into this. Also underneath the infrastructure for Park Road 22 bridge, there are sidewalks that run under the bridge. They just don't connect into anything. Lake Padre has plans to hook into those sidewalks to run along their canal structure. And then my understanding is that Whitecap will do the same. So this will connect into the greater walkway system once those are built.
So it's just a walkway to connect from one side to the other as you're walking along the canal? Is that?
Well, it'll connect into, so currently
Okay,
there
wait. So there's a sidewalk that goes along the canal. Is that what you're saying?
There's a sidewalk that goes under the bridge right now. There's walkways under the bridge, but they don't connect into anything.
Okay, I get that,
Okay.
right? Because you have something on the other side that doesn't have any sidewalks either, right? So if you have something that is walking underneath the canal, is there anything that connects it to the rest of the development along the canal?
Yes, both developers, not only Whitecap, but Lake Padre are planning on building that infrastructure that'll connect all the way in. All the way along.
Okay,
there.
so it's just a walkway along the canal. It doesn't connect it along Park Road 22.
No, right now, because of the way that the land along Park Road 22 is TxDOT right-of-way. And so the city cannot, or a developer cannot build walkway infrastructure within that right-of-way. Walkway infrastructure can be built along the edge of the property lines, which I believe that is part of the larger infrastructure. I know on the Lake Padre side, they're renting it all the way from further. It's going to be run along Park Road 22, but there is not going to be the city built or TxDOT built sidewalks along Park Road 22 because of the right-of-way.
I guess the question is if you only have a walkway along the canal, do you need more than one pedestrian bridge if you're not going to have cross-traffic?
Let me see.
Heather, would it be helpful to put that other map up that shows all the public access points that might show some connectivity?
So this is the rendering that shows more of the open spaces and the proposed development in this area. So you can see there's a lot of infrastructure, especially down up against Park Road 22. So your Park Road 22 is going to be down at the bottom of the picture. Where we're looking at a pedestrian bridge will be right there, right above that. And
Okay, so it's the sidewalks that connect the infrastructure on both sides of the canal?
yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's what I was asking. Okay, thank
sorry.
you.
Okay. Any other questions on the mobility bridge? Okay. Then moving into the Aquarius Street Canal Walk. So this is on the, I guess, northwest side of the development along Aquarius. So this will be a linear park that will run between Commodores and basically Dos Marinas. And that will provide amenities along that edge. And This is a rendering of what this would develop out to, a possible example. So the developer has already gone in and laid in the rock along that, so that is not included in this ask, but it is the hardscaping, the amenities, benches, trash cans, possible exercise stations, the walkways, along with the landscaping that will go into that. And going back to this, so if you look at the top right-hand side of this picture, so that would be the linear park along Aquarius. So as you see, there is multiple walkways and hopefully future trails from this into Commodore's Park, which would be over to the far right-hand side, that little green area kind of in the middle. And so this does connect in a lot of this walkways and trailways that will be built within the development along with the future Commodore's Park. So any questions on this? Okay. So then moving into public kayak launches, the developer is proposing to put kayak launches that are available to the public across the development. Some of these will be in smaller pocket parks, and some of them will be in a little bit larger green space areas. There have been some questions about parking on these. They are still finalizing the plans for how the parks will be laid out, but it is anticipated that, especially in some of the larger ones, there will be several parking spaces where people can park to be able to launch kayaks in this area. And so these are spread out. There is a total of, I think there's 6 launches in 5 different areas that would be across the development, and these would be open to the public, connecting into some of those pedestrian bridge areas in the preserve area. Sure.
Good luck.
Thank you. Hello? Okay, there, much better. I think I missed the last meeting, so I apologize for that, but trying to stay up to date in all this. And I know the public, including the public has been a big part and push of this, and I think really one of the selling points for all the entities to get behind this and support it. I do, but I can just picture, we get excited as a community, right? And I can't just imagine day 1, day 2, month 1, month 2. I mean, these are just a handful of areas. So we do have, or do you feel we have adequate parking or mobility to get to these launches? Because I can see a whole slew of people wanting to use these in the early days especially, and throughout, but especially in the beginning.
And like I said, the developer is still working on the final plan for these parks, but the understanding is that there will be parking that will be allocated within these areas for not only residents, but also for the public to be able to park their vehicles and access these parks and the launches.
And I guess my hope will be that anyone living in this area will also understand you're going to see a lot of people coming into the neighborhood, and there's just going to, I think of Candy Cane Lane, I think of all these neighborhoods that take on big community tasks and involvement, and there's pride in it. And so I just ask that whoever will be our future residents there will share some patience as well, because everyone's going to be so excited about this. I am. This is really a great plan. So thank you, Heather.
Sure. Any other questions on the kayak launches? Okay, well, it seems like it's not advancing. Can you advance the next slide, please? There we go. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this. This is an example of how the green spaces, how the walking trails, how the sidewalks and roadways will connect in. This is preliminary, and they're still continuing on the final planning for a lot of these areas. Next slide, please. Okay. And then the final project is the Aquarius Street Water Aqueduct. And so when the original plan for the Aquarius Bridge was, came forward, it was to put in two culverts there, box culverts, to allow for water circulation into the development and into the canals, which would then connect in all the way back out to the Gulf. So this will provide that connection from basically the Laguna Madre side through here into these canals, and then will eventually go under the water exchange bridge and then out to Lake Padre into Packery Channel, along with the other canals that are connected in. This will not be a navigable canal of any type. This will be more of or what we call an aqueduct, or an open ditch. Sounds not as nice, but will be a connection for water to flow from the Laguna Madre side into this areas. Then at a future date, if that land is currently undeveloped, at a future date, this could be turned into more of a navigable canal in future plans that would take people through the development and out towards the other side. There we go.
Board Member Hernandez.
Since this is kind of I guess, a nice ditch or something like that, is the property owner going to be maintaining this along with the canals?
I believe so. Yes. Yes.
Can we get some clarification on that? I just want to make sure, because I know they're taking care of the canals separate from the what is it, the Padre Island Owners Association?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure this is included in that.
And that's definitely something that, this is just the action today would just be the board saying yes to move forward. We can definitely keep that, put that in the development agreement.
So if this is, so if this is a modification to the agreement, then make sure that's connected in there, because I don't want to have it like the redheaded stepchild that nobody wants to.
Exactly, yes,
Got
we'll
it.
definitely
Thanks.
include that. Okay. So in summary, the projects that have been requested were the affluent water line, the pond interconnectivity, the mobility bridge at Park Road 22, the Aquarius Street Canal Walk, the kayak launches, and then the Aquarius Street Water Quality Circulation Aqueduct. In addition, we are recommending that we partner with the developer to do the repairs and repairs for the White Cap line that runs along the White Cap. A portion of this $1.5 million will also be used by CCW to do the repairs and renovations needed at the wastewater treatment plant to pump the affluent water line, along with moving forward, looking at the extension of the affluent water line to Commodores Park. The third item that we do have is the additional request for the Commodore Bridge due to the different factors that Jeff explained to the board. So what we would like to do is see if we can take action. I know that the board has already approved the affluent water line piece, but go through and get consensus on moving forward with negotiating the development agreement with the developer on these additional projects, along with moving forward with partnering with the developer to do the affluent water line and the additional funding for the Commodores Bridge.
Board Member Hernandez.
Okay, Heather, what is this with, if we add all these items on here, which I think, there's support to do, what would be our total investment in this project as a percentage?
I'm sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that, when we're looking at investment, we're not, I don't think we have a threshold for what we invest in particular projects, but,
Exactly.
we need to understand what that looks like, so for future projects, we're not,
Sure.
treating people differently.
Sure. So, we're estimated investment in this project is about $800 million, with the $11.5 million that we have already awarded, along with this additional 14. I'm not including the 1.5 because that is something that we could have done on the city side. We're partnering with them. So the additional of the 14 million would come up to $25 million, $25.5 million. That is truly developer requested. Like I said, the 1.5 million, this is a partnering agreement with the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
I move for approval.
All right. I have a motion to approve and a second.
Motion to approve, can you clarify? Is that, what was the first motion? I'm sorry, I thought that was, is
Yeah,
that
we-
just
we
Commodore's
sort of-
Park?
We broke it into two, so that was,
Right.
initial was just the affluent
Just the affluent.
passage. Correct.
Okay.
This is the balance.
I move to
balance.
approve all remaining projects,
Okay, thank you.
or all remaining requested projects.
So we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With no other business, the meeting's adjourned.
Have to be flexible.
Hardly any time we spent on, what, 8 million? What, 150,000 on that one hour?
Oh, my
meeting for downtown Corpus Christi. Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Mike Pesley. Board members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. She's here. I don't know where she is right now. Rudy Garza. Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Jim Klein is absent. Everett Roy.
Here.
Connie Scott. James Sedgwick. Dan Suckley.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Huerta. Do we have anybody here that needs to address the commission in public forum? Okay, if not, we'll move on, and I'll ask for a motion on approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Financial report.
Can we have the PowerPoint? Thank you. Good morning. Alma Casas, Interim Director of Finance and Procurement, here to present the financials for the TIRZ number 3, 10 months ended July 31st. So we have our beginning balance at 6.2 million, revenues year to date 3.5 million, expenditures year to date 1.39 million, giving us an ending fund balance at July 31st of 8.4 million. Our commitments remaining to be paid 5.2 million, and our balance available for commitments are 3.2 million. Our commitments, so we estimate that at the end of this year, we will have 7.65 million in fund balance available for commitments. Moving on to project-specific development, we have a grand total of 4.6 committed, and that is for the 600 building, the Marriott Residence Inn, Frost Bank, Nueces Brewing Company, 807 North Upper Broadway, the Northwater Apartments, and ZIZ Hospitality. Moving on to the targeted vacant property improvement, we have a grand total of 531,695 committed to 611 Commerce Venue Hall, LLC. And moving on to the Downtown Living Initiative, our grand total is 3.8 million, and that is for the 600 building and the Northwater Apartments. Moving on to the commercial tenant finish out, we have a grand total of $161,378 committed, and that is for the Annex Bar new tenant, Annex Bar building owner, Brush Country Brewing, LLC, Gallery 41, Lazy Beach Brewing, and Community Grocery. Moving on to our streetscape and safety improvement program, we have a grand total of $677,803 committed, and that is for the Annex Bar, Buccaneer Commission, The Point, Sable Dental Bay Area, Gallery 41, OK Hi-Fi LLC, Lazy Beach Brewing, Community Grocery, Law Office of Jason Wolf P. LLC, and Furman Foundry LLC. That concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Questions, board? Anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right, we'll move to item F, executive sessions. We'll go into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.087. I guess we'll go back here, is that right?
need one more person.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. We need to rustle somebody out, Michael.
I think we're good. Yeah, we're definitely good now.
Okay, we're back in session, open session. I'll entertain a motion. Councilman Roy, I think you wanted to make a motion for the 2 executive session items? We're not? Hello, hello?
Those are posted, Councilman, so we can just do them in order.
My green light's on.
Motions on the exec session are posted on the agenda, so we can just do them in
No,
order.
wait, say that slowly.
The motions on the exec session, they're actually posted later in the agenda, so we don't have to take action now. We can do it when we get there.
Okay,
And we really need to because of the project plan change.
okay. All right, so we want to just move to 5.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're going to delay the motion to,
Okay, that's,
in order.
Are we gonna do it?
yes, he's going to delay it till it comes up.
We're going to delay it till it comes up. Okay,
I'm sorry. I saw there was some-
I don't know if we have the sound system back on or ever will, but let's move on. We got a lot to do, so let's move to item 5.
If we could have the presentation up for item 5. Chairman, board members, item 5 is a recommendation and an introduction of a new project for the project plan amendments. That is not.
No, I'm good.
So we are proposing a 10th amendment to the project and financing plan to add back revitalization services, which was previously included in the project plan, and introduce a new program called rooftop activations. There is a slide in your packet if you received a hard copy. There we go.
Uh-oh. Las Vegas.
So 10th Amendment to the TIRZ, number 3, project and financing plan. Next slide. Okay, so again, adding back revitalization services, including cleaning, beautification, landscaping. This is something allowed by Chapter 311 under activities that the board finds convenient for the implementation of the project plan. So these are a number of initiatives that we had previously undertaken. We removed it from the last amendment, recognizing now that that language is actually very important, and so we are adding it back to make sure that we keep all of these things in complete compliance. The next project that we are proposing is the rooftop activation program. We've identified that this is a really worthwhile effort. We think it'll improve the experience for downtown Corpus Christi, create more space for buildings that we're activating to be able to utilize their rooftops. This is very popular in urban areas, and in ours it will be especially popular because of the waterfront. It's something that we have lacked for a long time. We've identified that the access requirements in order to stay in compliance with the building code has made this cost prohibitive. So by adding this program, adding components including elevators and staircase access that is required for fire code, we think we will be able to create a number of these spaces on buildings downtown. We're recommending up to 50% for those costs, but limiting the payout to $500,000 annually per patio. Our DMD board did see this program and did recommend adoption of it at our last board meeting. One additional kind of item that was added additionally was the payout scale to make sure that we're not kind of overly incentivizing the patios to the cost of other items in the TIRZ. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mike?
Yes, sir. Councilman Hernandez.
Alyssa, in terms of the kind of the scope of the project, is there like a minimum to this? Because, I mean, you can have a really small space, and I don't know if that's necessarily something you want to incentivize. I mean, do you have like some minimum scope to what it would look like?
So it needs to be a public patio, and it needs to be associated with an operating business. So we're not looking to do recreational patios, but no, from a minimum size
I meant in
standpoint.
terms of a size or, capacity. I mean, is there any quantification of that? Because, I mean, you can have something very small that is not very useful.
Minimum square footage
Minimum
is,
square footage or something along those lines. I mean,
We do not currently have a minimum square footage. If the board felt comfortable adopting this program, we could come back with those specifications.
yeah, I think the idea is good, especially if you're going to have, you know, ADA access with an elevator and you're going to incur that cost. It should be significant. It shouldn't be this, you know, little, you know, 500 square foot patio kind of thing. So it just, I don't know what you want, if you want to have some sort of size requirement, or that there's some usable space and not just boutique-ish.
What we can do is we can, if we approve this project plan amendment, we can come back with program details like we do with our streetscape and safety. We kind of have an additional sheet that's kind of our administrative direction, and we just won't bring anything forward. We'll present that to the board, and then we'll do that on our vetting end before we bring it forward.
Okay, and then, you know, you guys have done a great job on the other items. I know you talked about new construction and some of the things that needs to be modified there too. So, okay, so I just wanted to make sure that there was some, you know, it's not small projects. It's a substantial
Yes, sir.
investment. Okay, thank you.
any other
And,
questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll move to item number 6. Lisa?
So if we can have the presentation pulled up for the service plan proposal, and yes, perfect, great. Chairman, board members, I do want to recognize, this is an annual requirement of our approval process per our interlocal agreement with the Downtown Management District and TIRZ number 3. I do want to recognize that we have DMD board members here in attendance to show our gratitude and appreciation for this structure. We often have staff up here by ourselves, but we do work closely with the stakeholders in the downtown area and with the DMD board to make sure that we're keeping our stakeholders satisfied in the services we provide. So we just wanted to show our appreciation today for this partnership. We have had a few questions that the board has posed previously regarding the TIRZ number 3, so we wanted to kind of orient to that very quickly. Brief the board on our DMD expansion and renewal strategy, and then talk about the proposed budget and service plan initiatives. You all are familiar with the reinvestment zone and the purposes it was created. The downtown reinvestment zone was created to mitigate blight, which is different than some of the other reinvestment zones in the community, which were created regarding the substandard infrastructure. This is also a pay-as-you-go TIRZ versus some of the other TIRZ we've bonded for larger scale infrastructure projects. So it's a little bit different as far as structure goes. History on the downtown TIRZ, a downtown development report was created in 2006. TIRZ number 3 was created in 2008. The boundaries were corrected. Nueces County and Del Mar joined in 2009. And we corrected the term date in 2012. When the TIRZ was created, a focused area was identified for investments that was within the downtown management district boundary. Nothing really happened after the TIRZ was created. I think the people who were involved in creating it just kind of said, okay, we're done, now revitalization will occur, and that's not really how that happens. So in 2014, the DMD hired a new executive director who had experience with TIRZ management. The city manager's office created a new position, the business liaison position. The city initiated the downtown area development plan, and we updated the board composition. It had previously people from like the River Authority or like other organizations that didn't contribute into the TIRZ, so we updated that. We then started researching best practices. We presented those concepts to the TIRZ board. We took away the focused reinvestment component and that map that you see on the slide, and instead we established a contract with the Downtown Management District, kind of deciding that it was better to kind of keep this associated with a boundary instead of creating an additional boundary that really no one was managing and no one was focusing on. And then in 2018, the DMD hired the business liaison, and incentive management was outsourced to the DMD. Again, I know there's some confusion about the boundaries, so just to reiterate, the pink area here on the map is the Downtown Management District, which was rebranded as the Marina Arts District in 2016. The TIRZ is the dotted line. It goes all the way south to Morgan Avenue, all the way north to the Ship Channel, and then west on Tonkawa, all the way into the bay. So that is the reinvestment zone boundary. It's about 4 times the size of the downtown management district boundary. The downtown management district provides incentive management, placemaking assistance, and a little bit of beautification services outside the DMD boundary through this interlocal agreement. Does anybody have any questions on that? Because I know. Okay, great. This is our 2023 funding model. You can see we pull from a number of different funding sources, including the DMD levy, the general fund. Our TIRZ contract is historically 40% of our funding sources, as well as our advisory council revenue, which is pulled from corporations, and then fundraising, sponsorships, and memberships. We recently conducted our renewal of the downtown management district. This is a process that occurs every 10 years. It was kind of asked what the difference is between the DMD and the reinvestment zone and kind of the services that are being provided. So this triangle is intended to really show the base level of what we're supposed to be doing as clean and safe services. And once we do clean and safe services, we can get more sophisticated, right, in what we do as a downtown management district. The little pink triangle indicates the impact of the downtown management district, and the larger portion is what we're able to do with this TIRZ partnership. This is the history of the DMD renewals and our levy rates, and we've renewed now at an increased levy rate of 40 cents per $100 valuation on land and 5 cents per $100 valuation on improvements. We also were able to analyze the other downtown districts. We found that ours was much smaller and much less well-funded than other districts, so we've set in place a path to make those improvements. We also did an analysis of our organization compared to other organizations. And then we put in place an expansion plan. We've been able to renew the downtown management district. This was something that we had not understood how to undertake previously, but El Paso just completed the expansion of their downtown management district. And so we are following the El Paso model and are in the process of securing the petition signatures for the southern expansion, and then we may be able to undertake other expansions to other parts of the reinvestment zone. So we have secured the DMD renewal, and we are in the process of doing the southern expansion. We changed the levy, as I've mentioned. This is what we're proposing for the FY24 funding model, moving the contract from $665,000 to $875,000, plus 2 buckets for specific services that we do for the city, including right-of-way and parks improvements, and then potentially 2 one-time projects. These are the additional improvements that we have proposed as part of the service plan. We are funding those not through the DMD interlocal agreement, but the city will maintain those dollars, and we'll work out a deal to get those invoices paid, but we will manage the projects themselves. And then 2 additional items that we're proposing for FY24 are ADA accessibility and our expansion plan. Those are not TIRZ funded, but not coming before this board too frequently, I wanted to make sure that we were providing full transparency about what we're doing over the next fiscal year. And then the other service plan updates, there's a number of slides in here. This is really just kind of a high-level review of what we've accomplished in FY23. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but it's pretty detailed and there's a lot of information in there. So with that, I conclude my presentation and stand by for questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Anyone? Okay, Alyssa, if you would go back to page 12 real quickly, please, on the presentation. I think it was page 12. Yes, well, yeah, right there. Back one. Okay, so is it a fair statement, Alyssa, with the proposed expansion of the DMD, that are there areas currently outside of the DMD that are receiving the services that the DMD is really helping fund?
No. By statute, the DMD services have to be provided within the DMD
So like the
boundary.
clean team,
We have a contract, so part of the clean team contract is funded through the reinvestment zone. So that's how we're able to provide some cleaning and beautification services outside
the boundary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but nothing else outside that? Okay. I just want to mention real quickly, because we're running out of time, we still have some progress to make on our lighting. And Peter, I've been told that our lighting is held up by making decisions on what we're going to do with respect to the ABC Center. Is that not true anymore? Okay.
I've never heard of that, Councilman. That's news to me. I think
Well, that's what I was told, that we were holding up, we had, the already money has been approved, the lights have been selected, all that's ready to go, and we were not doing that because we were waiting on the design of the ABC Center, but I would just like to offer, we're a couple of years down the road on that. We ought to be able to move forward with the lighting.
Council, not to interrupt you, Chairman, but that's inaccurate. Yeah, Heather can explain more.
Sure, Heather Hilbert, Assistant City Manager. So while the design of the, progress with ABC, the American Bank Center, is a consideration, that is not what's holding up the project. We've had some challenges with, first of all, funding, to understand what the funding that we have in place can cover. We've had changes downtown from the original lighting plan. I know the DMD has worked to do more surveys on the lighting to understand where exactly we can get more bang for our buck. There's been some challenges on what type of lighting can be utilized downtown, along with, do we need to move forward with the actual replacement of the lighting fixtures or the actual lighting structures? And so I know we're working with engineering analysts and her team to understand what we want to move forward with and then what the current funding will cover.
Do we have money appropriated for the lighting or not?
It is within our CIP, yes.
Yeah, it's from the 2018 bond program, Councilman.
There's about $500,000.
But it has nothing to do with.
All I'm saying is, the longer we wait, the less that money buys.
Exactly.
I think that I've said this all along, and many other members of this council have too. Lighting, that's a key. And I know the mayor supports that. She's worked on it very hard, and we need to do whatever we can do to push that forward. And then the other comment I'll make is with respect to parking, Alyssa, we still have to be very cognizant of public parking in the downtown area as we make these improvements. Because if we get to the point where parking becomes an issue, then people are going to say, well, why go down there when there's no place to park? So we did a huge parking study several years ago that the TIRZ paid for, and we just need to, as we go forward, we need to be sure we're cognizant of what we're doing with respect to public parking.
Yes, sir. I will say we have been working with the parking garages in the area, and we're utilizing Art Walk as an opportunity to establish partnerships with them, make sure their garages are open and staffed on that night, and so we can kind of create that infrastructure and make certain those.
We have
blocks
to
are
make
on.
sure people, if we are able to do that, which I understand in the beginning we had some challenges.
Yes.
But if we are able to do that, we have to make sure people coming to downtown understand that and where it's located.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Question?
Yes, sir.
I looked at
Councilman
your,
Hernandez.
thank you. I looked at your expansion, and it's kind of mirroring what the TIRZ looks like, which includes the C district and a little section of Uptown, but you also have that section that goes into Uptown, the Phase 3B. I guess we should look at it from a TIRZ perspective of expanding the TIRZ to include Uptown. Because, I mean, I get a lot of complaints that we're doing all this great stuff in downtown, but Uptown is on a downward trend. So I think maybe it's something we should look at as a community to include Uptown in the TIRZ in the future, maybe when it comes up for renewal.
Well, actually, I think,
Or maybe we do it ahead of time.
I think we had phases, didn't we?
Yes, there are phases.
Well, this is separate from the downtown management district, and I see what you're doing, and that's great, but I'm talking about from the TIRZ side. It does not include Uptown.
Got it, correct.
Which is your Phase 3B, right?
Well,
So-
and we put that on there just as anticipation. We're really focusing on Phase 1, Phase 2, and then, Phase 3. But I know that there's been direction from this board at multiple iterations, so we wanted to just kind of identify what that would look like. And then additionally, something that's really important to mention is in order for the DMD to expand, the property owners in the expansion area have to petition and agree to pay the levy. So
Right, and this
that's-
would be separate from that, because this, I mean, the TIRZ isn't the same as the downtown management district. And I want to say, Alyssa, your organization, the downtown management district's participation in managing the TIRZ for us has been a good partnership. And I can't say enough good things about a lot of things that are happening, and TIRZ being a part of that. It's been a great partnership. I think we should continue that going forward. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Well, I would say that Uptown, it's not going down. It's going up. No, Uptown, there really is a lot going on Uptown, considering Wouldn't you agree, Alyssa?
Yes.
It's
I mean, and I
considering.
think that we have to, the density is really important, and we'll continue, as we develop an area, we can expand and include the other area.
Right.
But what we're finding is if we're expanding and if we're doing the investment or the improvements, and we aren't having the property owners contribute to the maintenance and operations, there's a gap. And you can really tell the difference in that experience. So we would like, if we're providing the incentives and we're providing support for development, we also want to make sure that those property owners are good neighbors and contribute to the operations once that tax investment has been made.
Yeah, thank you.
And just for clarity, the current TIRZ boundary does go a little bit uptown, but it stops at Tonkawa.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. But if you looked at her Phase B, it goes into Uptown, or B,
Yeah.
3B.
I just wanted to make sure the public understood that might not know it as well as you do.
Okay, if there's no further comments or question, I'll entertain a motion to approve the tax increment reinvestment zone number 3 amended project and financing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ah.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. We have about 3 minutes before it's 11 o'clock, and we need to get the next item approved today, I would assume, right?
For the budget, yes.
Yes.
We were on the water.
So we need to work through this real quickly, because the mayor's got stuff to do. She's gone.
Heather Hurlbert, Assistant City Manager. So this is a combination of the requested increase in the DMD contract, which Alyssa just talked about the additional things, services, along with the one-time and ongoing programs that were suggested by or requested by the DMD to be funded through the TIRZ. And so we went through a lot of this during our budget workshops. And so this is a summary of the different projects that are being recommended by the Downtown Management District to be funded through TIRZ funding. And these include some one-time things, some ongoing things, projects that would be eligible for the TIRZ funding. We'll kind of flip through these really quickly. With the CZTX photo op sign, the concrete replacement in Norma Urban Park, the fencing in the parks, the trash receptacles, the redesign for Agnes and Laredo entry to downtown, the urban standards, design standards, the PD lighting assessment, the dog-friendly spaces downtown, and the Water Street project. This would be the the streets for portion of the Water Street project. A parking pilot project, which we're looking at some impermeable parking surfaces, along with the 2 items that Alyssa did mention. So within the DMD's request, they are requesting additional funding for website design, along with office space build-out within their new office, in addition to the $210,000 for the increase in their contract with the TIRZ for those things included in their service plan.
Questions?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve item number 6, which is,
7.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, I had, yeah.
Yeah, that's item number 7.
Yeah, it's different in mine. Mine's misnumbered. Anyway, so let me make sure I'm reading the right one, Heather. This is for the interlocal cooperation agreement between Corpus Christi Tax Investment Zone number 3, or is that the last?
No, this is the resolution authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 Corpus Christi Tax Increment Refinancing Zone number 3 budget, which increases expenditures by $1,944,727 for the increased spending for the Corpus Christi Downtown Management District DMD interlocal agreement and one-time expenditures requested by the DMD outside of the interlocal agreement.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same, those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We want to try to do number 8, Alyssa, real quickly.
Yes, sir. The next 2 items are the ones.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of item number 8.
Have a
Second.
motion to approve item number 8. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 8, which is the motion authorizing downtown development reimbursement agreement with CNP Monarch LP for improvements to their property located at 1102 South Shoreline Boulevard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 9. Do I have a,
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
It's to amend, yeah.
To amend,
Oh,
excuse
to
me.
approve first and then amend, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So a motion to amend authorizing the downtown development reimbursement agreement for Thirsty Corpus LLC for development located at 1002 North Chaparral. The street for total incentive amount not to exceed $668,500.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve item number 9 as read. All those in
As
favor
amended.
signify by
Well,
saying
that's the
aye.
amendment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
A motion for an amendment.
So that was
A motion for amendment to item number 9. Okay, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 9, the main motion as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I would
We're good.
suggest
Yeah, we
we're
can-
good from there.
Yes,
Okay,
that's just
we'll have to bring
informational
that
purposes.
presentation back to a later time. And Peter, I would like to suggest before we adjourn that in the future, we ought to really look at doing one TIRZ meeting on any given day unless it's a really special circumstance, because it just runs as short a time when we do it.
Okay, we can certainly do that, Councilman.
Yeah, and we do this once a quarter, and I think we can make that, and we meet every week, so we ought to be able to do that.
No problem.
No further business come before this board, we're adjourned.